Hi everyone, we're back. From our previous video, you know that organizations have a lot of resources. So, how do you identify whether a resource can be an organization's competitive advantage over others or not? So, according to ENS 2010, these are the 6 questions that you can use to actually analyze your resources in house and determine whether they can be a competitive advantage or they can bring in competitive value to your organization. So these are the 6 questions. Okay, Barney in 1997 also introduced a VRIO framework in order to identify strategic resources. You can evaluate whether your resources are valuable, whether it enables the organization to implement a particular strategy that you want in order for you to be able to steer your organization move towards the direction that you want it, and then you can identify whether these resources that you own, that you have, is rare. A rare resources is going to be more valuable in the market because only a few people will obtain it or will have it, definitely. You can also consider whether your resources are inimitable, cannot be copied. It cannot be copied easily. Okay, inimitable resources possesses attributes that are too difficult to emulate because they have a unique history or unique development, and their nature is ambiguous or probably intangible and socially complex as well. Okay, one of the most important thing is for the resources itself to be organizable. This is because resources, if it's unorganizable or if the organization cannot control them, then it's not going to be useful. So a resource must be organizable in order for it to pose as a competitive advantage over others. Okay, so basically these are the framework itself. If you have a resource that is that is valuable, it's not valuable, you're going to have a competitive disadvantage. That means like you have resources but none of it are valuable, rare, inimitable, or even can be organized. So if it's valuable but it's not rare, you have a competitive parity. If it's valuable, rare, but not inimitable, then you have a you have temporary competitive advantage. That means once another rival comes into play, that person can copy whatever that you've been doing. That person can copy your product, that person can copy your services. So you only have an advantage temporarily. Okay, but if you have a valuable product or valuable services that is rare and that is inimitable, you have unused competitive advantage because it's not organized. You have these resources, it is valuable, it is rare, it cannot be copied, but you don't know how to organize it. So you have a competitive advantage or competitive resource that cannot be used, that is unused, right? Okay, so if you say yes to everything, then you have a sustainable competitive advantage that could propel your organization to success. All right, so I'm going to show you the interrelationship between the resources so that you know and you understand that these resources, it's not just a one-way street or it's not just a to and fro kind of thing, but they interact with each other. For example, over here, if you have strong financial position, definitely you can hire better human, right? You can hire better people, you can hire better managers. If you also have a strong financial position, you have a lot of money, then definitely you can invest in knowledge and learning. You can give a lot of training to your you can give a lot of training to your workers, right? So again, strong financial positions will also enable you to build strong brands, have a better reputation. Why better reputation? It means that you are able to pay your debts, right? You are able to service your loan. So people will see you as somebody that's reliable. And if you have a lot of money, you can invest in marketing in order to build your brand, definitely. Okay, again, strong financial position will also enable you to purchase state-of-the-art plant and machinery, you will be able to buy a decent location and things like that. Okay, under chapter 4, you will notice that in the textbook, it talks a lot about ratios. Well, you have learned this in managerial accounting. It's very important for managers to understand how to read ratios. And of course, in PR number 4, you will have to do all this. Sorry, I believe it's PR number 3. If I'm not mistaken, it's 3, either 3 or 4. Okay, you need to be able to understand what is profitability ratio, what is leverage ratios, what is activity ratios. You have already learned this in managerial accounting. It is time for you to apply it in strategic management. Okay, so let's talk about the value chain. So what is a value chain actually? So it is a framework used by the organization that is aggregated according to activities to show strategically relevant activities and how they interact with one another. Okay. So the purpose of a value chain is to identify strategy relevant activities in the core areas of a business, a particular business. For example, the core area of hospitality is receiving the guests, right? Check-in, check-out, reservations. Okay, so the purpose of a value chain is to identify strategy relevant activities in the core areas of an organization and evaluate how these core activities interact together to sustain a chosen strategy. So, what is value actually? Value is typically represented by the amount customers are willing to pay for an organization's products or services. So, according to Porter, the importance of activities in adding values should be placed importance rather than the functions of activities itself. So, let us take a look at the value chain for the wine industry. So, primary activities add value through transformation of resources, as you can see here. So, the first part here, we should have an inbound logistics where the grapes are being grown, and then we're going to have operations that turns the grape into the wine, right? So that's under winemaking. And then we have outbound logistics, so getting the wines from the wineries to the customers. And then we have marketing and sales, activities that enable customers to buy and receive our product. So after marketing, we also have retailing. So here we have after sales services so that we can always enhance our values. Okay. Sometimes it's not enough for us to only evaluate our resources. We should also take a look at our value chain. So value chain based sources of competitive advantage. You can develop an advantage in any of the primary or support activities if you can have a value chain that costs lower than your competitors, then definitely you have a competitive advantage over them. Or if you have somewhere in the chain that is more efficient than your competitors, then you have a competitive advantage over others. So you can develop an advantage in the way any of the primary or support activities are combined. You can also develop superior linkages between one or more of the activities and shareholders in the external environment. So probably you can have a good relationship with the logistics, the inbound logistics or the outbound logistics. That's gonna definitely make your costs go lower. Or probably you can have a good relationship with the media so that they can actually play your advertisement or promote your product at a better price than others, and at the best time possible. The last slide that which I want to talk about is the leadership approaches. We're just going to go over this briefly because you have already learned about leadership in organizational behavior. So this is just going to be a recap. Why do we say leadership is a competitive advantage? Is because if you have a good leader, they will manage resources very well. The types of leadership approaches, here's a few. There's the commander type, which the boss is going to formulate the strategy and then the top level managers will implement it. And then you have the change type, where CEO formulates the strategy, plans the change. Of course, definitely in the structure. Probably you want to change the structure, the personnel, the people, the information system, and also the administration required to implement it. So this is like a total overhaul of the entire system. Or you can also have a collaborative approach, where the CEO will conduct a planning session with the top level managers, and then encourage ideas from these people, and then through a discussion they would agree to form a strategy. And then we have the cultural approach, when after formulating a vision and strategy for the company, the boss and other top level managers would create a new organization culture, encouraging people to work towards the same goals. Okay, and then we also have the crassive approach, where the lower level managers are encouraged to formulate and implement their own strategic plans. This under this leadership approach, the lower level or line level managers will be given the freedom or will be entrusted with the responsibility to make decisions without waiting for top managers. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next chapter. Thank you very much.